Welcome back to Vic's Projects, everyone. I hope you're well. In the last few episodes, we've pulled the engine out, we've stripped the engine bay, cleared it all up, given it a coat of primer, and it's now ready for a bit of much needed love. However, I've had a call from the engine builders, so I'm going to drive all the way up and see how they've been getting on. Right, we are stuck in traffic on the motorway, but I don't care. I am super excited at the minute because we are up to go see the guys at P&K and see my engine in pieces. So they've got it all stripped down, sent me a message, said it's all good to come have a look and see where we go from here. But they did say they found some nasties in there, so could be expensive. We'll find out soon. Either way, super exciting. Well, you might ask, how did I come in contact with the guys at P&K? Well, I'm trying not to get a ticket here because they keep changing the speed limit. We've got variable speed limits on the roads here. So how did I get in contact with the guys? Well, Vic's Projects a little while back joined Instagram. I know, right? Links down below. Well, I found when I was just cruising around, they have P&K had a video of an XK engine. I think it was a 3.4, it might have been a 3.8. But they had it looking beautiful, running on their test stand with a £1 coin balanced on top. I was like, these seem like the guys for me. So I got in contact. A guy called Chip replied to my email. I'm pretty sure he's the governor, which is British for the boss. Sounds like a really cool dude. Really looking forward to seeing the guys. So we'll keep bashing through this traffic and see the guys in a bit. Think I found the right place. Hey Chip, I finally made it, despite the traffic. Thanks for having me here. I like the hat, by the way, very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, we're matching hats. Welcome, Vic.
Indeed. So, tell me about P&K.
P&K Thornton has been established since 1967. It's one of the longest established classic Jaguar restoration companies in England, possibly in the world. It was started by two brothers, Peter and Keith. They've done their apprenticeships at Jaguar, and following their apprenticeships, they moved on and created their own company, P&K Thornton Restorations in Nottingham. And since then, they've been looking, and we've been looking after classic Jaguars, from the entire range of XKs, classic XKs, XK120, 140, 150, the classic saloons, Mark 1 and Mark 2, and the entire E-Type range.
Awesome. So I'm in good company here then.
Fantastic, yeah.
So what do you do to cars here then? What range of services do you provide?
We start from concourse-winning restoration, where we deliver the car exactly the same as it left Coventry. We also service the cars. We do all the metal work, so we reconstruct the cars in metal. Our panel beaters are very experienced at welding, at putting metal into shape.
Yeah, I saw that E-Type that you were modifying, right? Also, with the nice big back end.
That's right, and this is a new trend we discovered, resto-modded E-Types, where we modify the external design with a lot of taste and taking into account the rich Jaguar history. We modify the external design, but we also modify the running gear. We modify the engine to get more power and to get better performance out of the engine, pretty much like we're doing with your engine.
Speaking of which, should we go have a look at our engine?
Yeah, please. Here we have the Jaguar, your Jaguar 3.4 liter engine. we have taken it apart, and these are the main components: the cylinder head, the pistons, the valves, the bearings, and the rods.
So how was it to take it apart? Did it come apart pretty easy, or was it?
It was a bit of a struggle, I have to say. From the beginning, there was 3 of us on it, and it took us about an hour to take the cylinder head off. You can really tell it's not been apart for quite a long time. So a bit of a struggle, but we got there in the end.
Awesome. So, lay it on me. How bad is it?
It's not great, but it's not a total disaster either. So there is a lot of positive to take in.
Okay, cool. So where do we start? What was the big things?
The big things we found were to do with the valve timing, especially on the inlet. It was 1 tooth out, which is quite a big deal. That means that the valves were clashing in turn, so no ideal, that one. And it's the same.
So someone had reassembled it and assembled it incorrectly. The tooth was out, or do they
somebody.
Occasionally, or?
I think somewhere down the line the engine was rebuilt, but it wasn't a great rebuild. I think it was somebody that didn't quite know what they were doing, so we found quite a few problems, things that we wouldn't have done, or a professional company wouldn't have done when they are rebuilding an engine.
Okay, so I'm super glad I didn't try and do this myself, because everyone said on YouTube, go ahead, Vic, you can do it. I'm sure you can, but I want this to be proper, so I'm super glad that I brought it to you guys.
We've been established since 1967, and over the years, over the 5 decades, we probably rebuilt hundreds, if not thousands, of this engine. We go through the entire process of building the engine, and then we test it regularly to make sure it's not leaking any water or oil, and it runs as it should.
Okay, so the timing, what else did you find?
The valve seating was well wrong, and you can tell from the condition of the valves. They're all, especially the inlet valves, they are absolutely caked in carbon.
So, which one's which? We've got a smaller one and a larger one here.
The large valve is the inlet valve, and the small valve is the exhaust valve. And you can remember this is very easy to remember, because if you think how you're drinking a pint of beer, the large diameter of the pint is the one coming in, and the diameter coming out is much smaller. So it's very easy to remember. Absolutely. The main bearings and the big end bearings, they were all scored, and you can tell by the condition of them is not ideal, and this was picked up from the crank. So if you look at the crank, you'll see all the journals are very scored, and this affects the oil pressure.
Okay.
The other thing was the glazing of the bores. Because the rings were not seated properly, this created the bores to be glazed, and again this affected the good running of the engine.
Okay. So, do you say there was something wrong with each of the rings on these?
Yeah. The other problem we discovered was the number of piston rings fitted onto your pistons. And what we did, we brought here a different piston from a different engine that has the correct number of piston rings fitted, and you can clearly see there is a difference. So at the bottom, on your engine, Vic, we had 3 or 4 piston rings fitted, while on top you didn't have any. While the other cylinder head, it presents the right amount of piston rings and fitted in the right way as well. Another issue that we discovered was the lower timing chain guides.
Chain, so this one down here.
Yeah, it was the guide was loose, and therefore the chain was not held in position tightly, so it was just very slack. It was not running well. Although the chain is a good quality chain, the guide forcing the chain into position with the oil pressure, it was just not the right one.
So would that maybe be the knocking or slapping noise?
It is very possible. It is very possible. If the chain is loose, then you will get a lot of knocking, and it will affect performance. The sprocket on the front of the crankcase, the original one, and presents signs of wear. As you can tell, it's not ideal, and again, it's It's been used probably for 60 years, so no wonder it's worn. After 60 years, everything is worn.
What else was on the list?
Another problem that we find was the distributor timing, the distributor ring gear, that it presents signs of wear.
Oh yeah.
And again, this would have affected.
Yeah, you can start to see it on the teeth. There.
Yeah, just a little problem that is part of the poor running of your engine. As you know, the Jaguar pistons are numbered from the back, so number 1 is always the last one.
Yeah, of course I know that. Okay. Dear Internet, help. Am I stupid? I can't get my Mark II to start. I've just rebuilt the carbs, replaced the electronic distributor, coil and plugs, static timed it twice, checked the compression on cylinder 1 and it's about 8.1. Oh, you gotta be.
And right at the back of the cylinder head. And what we discovered was that in number 2 combustion chamber, there was a foreign object that damaged not only the top of the piston, but also damaged the combustion chamber. And you can see it's had quite a struggle in there. I'm not sure what it was, but they really tried to get out and failed.
Right, so we've had a look in the engine of what you found. Now we're going to fix all those things, obviously.
Yeah.
But what else are we going to do? So we're going to go for a fast road engine. What does a fast road engine mean?
A fast road engine, it means slightly bigger valves, bigger inlet valves, and slightly smaller exhaust valves. And it also means lighter valves to support a higher rev. So you can deliver the power and the torque at a higher rev.
So are those made then of modern materials, like materials that Jaguar didn't have back in the day?
Absolutely. Modern materials, they are done by a specialist company in Coventry. They've been tested over a long period of time and on race engines, and they are perfect for the job. For fast road engines, you can't find anything better than this.
Right, okay. Do they vary the seats as well, the seat angles, or do we keep the same?
The seat angles will be the same. Yeah, the seat angles are the same. It's just because the stem of the valve is different. What varies is the internal diameter of the seat and the guide. The next step would be to look at the cams, where we're changing the profile, we're changing the angles, and we're looking to change the lift as well, to make it a more suitable cam for fast road application.
So that would use my original cams?
Original cams.
So they weld some material on and then grind it away?
They weld material on and then they take it away, exactly as you said. It's all done on a special machine where you're able to control the inclination and the angles perfectly.
Okay, so after the cams?
Onto the head, you need to make a decision if we are keeping the original B-type head, which you have at the moment, or if you are going for the slightly newer straight bore head.
Okay, so what does the straight bore head give me over the older cylinder head?
Ultimately, the straight bore head will give you more power and more torque. The straight bore head was used generally in the later XJ6 models or the 1960s Mark 10, E-Type 3.8, I think E-Type 4.2, and so on.
So this will give me better flow into the engine?
It will give you a better air intake, a better volume of air going into the engine, and also on the other side, it will give you again a performance flow for exhaust.
Okay, but so either head that we choose, if I can find a straight port, then we might look at that. But we will still need to go off for machining for performance enhancements.
For fast road, you will have to port the head. The head will need to be ported, it will need to be crack tested, and then towards the end it will have to be welded if required, if we find any problems, because obviously these cylinder heads have been over time heated up, cooled down, machined over 60 years of life. They took quite a lot of abuse. Sometimes we require to weld the cylinder head in places to be able to save it, so you can use it.
Okay, so tune up the top end.
Yeah.
What comes next? The bottom end?
The bottom end comes next. So we're looking at weight balancing and rotating balancing of the bottom end of assembly. That means the crank, the flywheel, that ideally we would like to lighten it. So skim it and lighten the flywheel to be able to have less rotating mass at that end. We would be looking to add the pulley as well. So you have crank, flywheel at one side and then the front pulley at the other side, and then it all gets weight and rotating balanced.
Okay, so you get as much as you can onto that crank to then balance that rotating assembly, so when it goes into the block, it's all as good as can be. To support the higher rev that I'm sure you want to go to, we need to make sure that the bottom end is perfectly balanced. So the weight distribution is equally balanced to support the rotation. Okay, so we've got a couple more options to talk about. So what have we got here?
Here we have your standard piston that we found in your 3.4 liter engine, and here we have a high compression race piston. The difference between them is the length of the skirt and where the gudgeon pin goes, the position of it.
So they're actually different.
They are very different. This is a high compression piston, so this is 10.5 compression, while this is 8 to 1 compression, and this is 10.5 to 1. So this is very high compression, and this is specifically designed for race application.
Right.
What we are suggesting with a fast road setup is, we're not suggesting that you should go for race pistons, because that would be possibly overkill. We are suggesting a dome piston that increases compression from 8 to 1 to 9 to 1.
Okay, so like one that sits sort of in the middle.
Sort of in the middle of the two, yeah, absolutely.
And doesn't hit my bank account quite.
And doesn't hit, and it's lighter, so you can rev it higher as well.
So it'll be lighter.
Lighter than this, yeah.
Not
lighter
as light as this.
No, as light as this. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds really good. So you're also telling me about the sleeves in here, and we have there's a particular
the liners. Yeah.
That you do.
Liners.
Liners.
Yeah.
So what are the difference then between a sleeve and a liner?
Sleeve, I guess there are two types of liners. Ones they have sleeves, and ones they don't have sleeves. So the ones that we use, our machining company does, they have sleeves. And the reason for that is that we don't want the liner to start moving. Once the engine runs, and it runs at high temperature, there is a tendency, if the liner doesn't have any sleeves, for the sleeve or the liner to start moving, and we don't want that. Therefore, we use liners with sleeves.
Okay, and the difference between the two, you were saying, was the top?
The sleeve comes here at the top, and obviously you have to kind of even it out, and you have to get rid of the step, and therefore the block is perfectly skimmed for the head gasket to sit nicely, so you don't have any problems with.
Okay, so the liner will have like a little lip on the top?
The liner has a lip.
Pocket?
Absolutely. Machined perfectly flat, and the head gasket goes on top, and the cylinder head goes on top.
Great.
It is cracked, the rubber is cracked. Yeah. So for a new engine, you will want to. I know the reason it is leaking, because it's cracked, it's broken. But you can see it's also been bashed against the body of it, and it is chipped. By this scoring onto the bearings. It's not too bad, I've seen much worse.
Wow, that was a fun day. I had so much fun. I was like a kid in the candy store looking around at all the cars they've got up there. Chip has got a couple of his race cars there. So I saw a Mark 1, which apparently has got a lot of heritage to it. Fingers crossed he gets that all back together and brings it down to the local circuit here at Castle Combe, so I can see that one go round. It was also really cool to see his Alfa Romeo race car that he normally ends up finishing on the podium with, apparently. That one's got its engine out, and he's doing exactly the same thing on that at the moment, clearing out the engine bay. It was also great to see our engine in pieces and see that actually it's not all that bad. It's just a bit of wear and tear here and there, nothing that can't be fixed, and well, the guys are cracking on and getting it fixed. So in the next episode I need to do the same because I've only got one more month to get this all done, not because that's when the engine comes back, but that's when my second child arrives and all my time goes out the window. So I think it's going to be a bit of a race to the finish. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next time on Vic's Projects.
Two more interesting things that I thought about, and now I'm really sharing my experience and my wisdom about these engines. One thing is the paint, the red paint that is applied to the front of the block.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And this is for the chains, and to get better oil flow and lubrication, you apply this paint that normally is always red, and this allows the oil to flow better through the front of the cylinder head.
Oh right.
And in some other little places around the block. This is very, very important. We do it, and we found it very useful. Another point is the height of the timing chain cover. You see, if you skim the block, you have to skim the height, so you have to skim the timing chain cover and the block at the same time.
Whilst it's attached.
Otherwise, you will end up. So I've also noticed these timing chain covers, they get pitted. The water runs through them, and then occasionally, although it's aluminium, water gets trapped in these pockets, and they get badly pitted.
Oh, okay.
So
Is that where the water pump?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of the time, this area here, this one is not too bad, but a lot of them, they get badly pitted here, and we have to change them. And I've seen it time and time again with other companies restoring these engines. They don't skim the new timing chain cover at the same time as the block. So a new timing chain cover will be taller than the block because the block has been decked quite a few times, and you will have a problem here with sealing the head gasket if you don't do that. That's why we do it from the beginning. Same time, if it's a good timing chain cover, fantastic, we'll send it and skim it together.
Okay, cool.
It was a bit of a waffle, but a long story, but you don't have to use that, but it's just